Okay,
Okay.
we are live. We are
Um,
live. Okay.
okay.
All right. What's up? Doing a different kind of video. It's your boy Conscious Coon Killer here with
I love
the
your name, by the way. Conscious. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. It's a nice, well thought out name. Why did you choose that name? I forgot.
really I just kind of made it up. I guess I'll give a little credit to this guy named Robert Perkins. He also makes kind of similar videos that I make. He kind of, I guess, low key inspired me to make these videos. Him and a few other people, Phil Levi show. Rob talks a lot about America, but he spells it with three Ks, like the Ku Klux Klan. And I always thought that
Yeah.
that was kind of clever. And I was trying to think of a channel name. I'm like, okay, well, it's supposed to be like the Black conscious community. So I'm like, okay, I'll incorporate the word conscious. I'm like, okay, well, the opposite of being a Black conscious person, we use the word coon. Usually it's like a Black person that's a sellout or isn't, woke, as they say. So I'm like, okay, well, both of those words start with a C. I'm like, oh, I could flip that to K's, like Ku Klux Klan. I'm like, okay, well, I got to think of a third word. I'm like, okay, well, if I'm trying to be conscious and wake people up, I'm essentially killing the coon within them. So I'm like, okay, conscious coon kill. It sounds funny and it
Yeah.
tricks people's
That's nice.
eyes. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, it's 3Ks and it's,
Very creative.
it's corny, but
No, not at all, actually. It's really nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's an attention grabber. So
Yeah. Okay, so my name is Loza, for those who don't know. My channel is Anna Loza. Anna is not my name, by the way. Loza is my name.
oh,
My
I didn't know it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm happy to interview or to chat with you today. Let's talk about Black men and Black women. Do you want to start off with your question? Oh, let me just say, when I say Black, I'm referring to African descent. That would involve Africans, African Americans, African Canadians, any Black person all over the world. This includes. Do you want to ask the question or should I?
Yeah, we can go back and forth. I can ask my question and then you answer, and then you can ask yours, something like that. Okay. My first question is, what can Black men do to strengthen our relationships with you guys as Black women? And when I say relationships, I mean whether that's platonic friendships, romantic, business, the whole nine.
I think the biggest problem with Black women is we feel like our men prefer or treat other women better. I think that, I mean, obviously it's a generalization, right? Not all men are like that. I know a lot of Black men who are amazing, who admire Black women, who respect Black women. But when, like, subconsciously, and it's not just Black men, it's Black women too. Subconsciously, Black men see other races as unattainable, subconsciously, and the Black woman is more as a last resort, as a general statement. Because the idea of beauty based off of Western standards has been ingrained in their minds through colonization. And so subconsciously, a lot of Black men see not so much just white women, but Indian women or Arab women or all sorts of other women as the prize, if that makes sense, or the idea of beauty. And so I think that if, you have a lot of Black women who hate their hair, for example, but if Black men loved Black women's hair and did not, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like if Black women loved everything about, if Black men loved everything about Black women will love themselves as well, I think. Does that make sense?
Oh, no, I completely understand that.
Yeah, what do you think?
Oh well, what I was gonna say about that, I think it's kind of funny because I remember these younger guys that I used to work with. They're probably between like 19 to 23 at that college age, and
Yeah.
we were on break. They're like, "Yeah, man, I gotta give me one of them college white girls. I gotta go down to the university, give me one." Which it's not the as a man, I'm like, okay, you just pursuing woman, you're single guys, whatever. But they kept specifically talking about college white girls. I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
that in the United States, Black women in the millennial and post-millennial generations, Black women are attending and graduating from college at the highest rate. So I'm like, I'm asking them, I'm like, if you want to holler at a white girl, whatever, just be careful. But I'm like, what about all these college Black girls? And they're like, no, I don't want these ratchet hoes. All this. I'm like, dang, wait a minute. I'm like, so then I asked them, I'm like, hold up, okay, so if you had to choose between some hillbilly white trash white girl or a more educated Black woman, what would you choose? And without hesitation, all of them said the educated Black woman. I'm like, okay, so it sounds like what y'all want is a woman that's not, quote unquote ghetto or ignorant. You want more of a, feminine, educated woman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if that's what you want, articulate it that way. Because when you say, oh, I want a white woman, really what you're saying is you want an educated woman, but what you've internalized is that only white women can be this way. The women that you desire can only be white, and the women that you don't like must be Black. I'm like, there's plenty of good and bad women that are of whatever race, like you said, East Indian or Hispanic, whatever.
Right.
And they're like, oh yeah, man, I guess. And these guys were they were more from the hood or whatever, which which not most, but a lot of Black people in America are from lower income areas due to socioeconomic discrimination. And they're like, oh man, that makes sense. Okay, cool. I'm thought to myself, like, dang, how many Black men say that and they don't actually mean that they want white women? They mean that they want a certain class of women, but they are just so indoctrinated and they believe so much of the social conditioning that to them a high class woman is the same as a white woman.
Right.
Because a lot of these dudes, because a lot of these dudes I talk to them, they'll say that Black women are more attractive. But they're like, oh, I can't put up with this, that, and the third. I'm like, yeah, I understand that there are some Black women that may act stereotypically, but I'm like, there's plenty of Black women that act the way that you would deem a white girl to act, because there's no such thing as acting a color. I'm like, there's plenty of Black women I know that are educated, that are whatever type, that different types of women. And I'm like, you gotta either open up your eyes and travel, whatever you gotta do, or stop saying it in that way. Stop connecting race with personality, because that's really what it boils down to. You know what I mean? But so I think that's kind of interesting.
No, I definitely agree. I agree with that point. A lot of it does have to do with the person's characteristics, but at the same time, it's also ingrained in, like, someone with that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about being educated. It's also about the physical appearance, because subconsciously they see that as a trophy, like a success, like if I end
show off.
Exactly. And which is sad, because that means this person does not hold themselves at a high standard.
Exactly.
But it's not just Black men. It's also Black women too. I know, and I have a friend, actually. She's from East Africa, and she makes little comments here and there about, oh, I don't want to stay in the sun because I don't want to get too dark. Stupid comments like that. It's just a subconscious thing that we need to learn to unlearn, right? Once you point it out to people, then it'll get them to reflect on it. But my issue is this. I don't care what anyone dates. Black men are not forced to date Black women. It's more about the fact that they don't see Black women as beautiful.
Value. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not only just valuable, but beautiful, because the definition of beauty has been so whitewashed, basically. So my problem isn't that Black men are dating outside their race, because I'm dating outside, and I honestly do not differentiate between who I fall for. but it's more about the mentality and the self-hate that people have. So I think I truly, truly believe that if Black men valued Black women and saw them as beautiful, then I think that Black women will in turn start to see themselves as beautiful. I mean, I know, you would say that it should come from within and whatever, but if you're constantly being treated like garbage by all races, and including your own, then it's very difficult to see that. So I think that's a problem that a lot of Black women have. I'll speak on behalf of Black women. Let's use my previous relationship. Jamaican guy cheated on me, and before the cheating, I went through his phone and I saw a message that he had with his friends. And he said in this message, "Oh, these Persian girls are somewhere along these lines. Persian girls are so hot. All I can get are Black women."
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just this mentality that as a last resort, when you want to get laid or when you want to, when no one else will have Black men, Black women will. And the reality is Black women always stand, for the most part, we stand by Black men's side for the most part. And I'm not saying through dating or through whatever, but if, for example, if I see a Black person, a Black man or woman in a situation, I instinctively gravitate towards them, and I will instinctively defend Black people. But when the roles are reversed, I don't really see that reciprocation as much. I mean, yes, it's there. There are people like you. There are people like, the men that I surround myself with. But it's not as common as I'd like for it to be.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Just to be clear, when I said value, I just want to be clear. I didn't mean far as like an object. I meant value, like respect and honor, things like that. I didn't mean it in like an objective type of way. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you basically explained it better when I said value, as far as like how you said your last relationship. You said all I can get. Like that's obviously he's not, looking at Black women as a valuable option. It's just like, oh well, it's like being broke and you're like, man, I wish I could afford this caviar, but all I can afford is ramen noodles. You got to eat something, right? It's like, dang, Black women aren't ramen noodles. They're the
exactly.
Or at least you should believe that if you're a Black person. I don't think that's racist. That's just about having pride and self-love for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then the thing is, like, from my experience, yes, there are people. This is what I tried to explain on another channel. From my experience, there are a lot of people who like to, who think of Black women as a fetish.
Negrophilia. I just learned that word the other day.
Negrophilia.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Yeah, and I'm so glad I learned that word the other day. So I'm like, oh my god, this is a real thing. Yeah. It's like you fetishize Black people, like sexually fetishize Black. Yeah. Negrophilia. Look it up.
But yeah, I know that it exists. I definitely know that it exists. But at the same time, those of us who are wise do not jump into relationships or get involved with people who have these ways, right? I find that a lot of men from other races actually value Black women. From my experience, this is a generalization again, but from my experience, every time I've dated outside of my race, they have treated me very well. The only reason those relationships ended have been because of difference of personality or lack of culture, which is really important.
I was going to say culture is probably.
Yeah, lack of culture for me is extremely important. Like things that are not so huge. I mean, they're huge, but they're not disrespectful because that's just their way of being. Whereas my relationships with Black men have been let's see. Yeah, like the example I gave you, I didn't feel valued, or I felt the opposite. I felt like this one person was only with me because I was light skinned, more. So there's still that inner self-hate, which a lot of Black men and women have to deal with. They have to really figure that out. And it's not our fault, right? It's not our fault that we've been subject to racism and colonization and all these things, but we need to be conscious about what we accept into our minds and into our lives too.
Yeah, we got to teach our kids better, because that's really where it starts is, our kids, they follow what we do, what we see as parents, as adults, and also what they see on TV through, music videos, television. If they're seeing, Black males, for example, and Black women as well, but as far as, because my question is more so towards Black men, we've seen Black men, appreciating other types of women more, that's going to subconsciously make little boys think, oh, well, this must be the goal. And it's going to make little Black girls think, oh, something must be wrong with me. I got to look at them. I got to change my hair. I got to bleach my skin. Or like you were saying about your friend, afraid to be outside for too long. She didn't want to get darker, like that type of stuff. That's where a lot of this stuff comes from. Not being afraid, but for lack of a better term, being afraid of ourselves. And then we show that on the outside by either, who we date exclusively, like as well as us putting down our own race while dating outside. So I believe you can date whoever you want, but like the Jamaican guy you dated, he's saying, oh, well, all I can get is this. I guarantee the next girl that he was with probably wasn't Black, and he's probably saying the same crap about Black.
She's half Black, actually. The other girl, half Black, half Korean or something. Okay. Yeah. But same thing. It's like that's all he thinks he can get, and he doesn't see the value of it, right?
But that also shows a lot of low self-esteem with him, which which then he internalizes with the people that he dates, or or like with Black women, a lot of times, especially in America, Black women will perm their hair because they say it's easier to manage, or because it's easier to keep a job or to get a job, which that is true about the job thing. I will say that. Yeah. Even though still, when it comes to at least like Black women that wear wigs, I know I'm kind of segueing real quick, but like Black women that will wear wigs to get a job, and they'll say, well, I had to put this, straight lace wig on to get this job. I'm like, okay, cool. I can understand that. However, why are you still wearing that wig when you're checking the mail or when you're out at the club trying to attract men, and then turn around and get mad when Black dudes say, oh, I prefer women with a certain, it's like, but you're, it's like, I get it. Black women didn't create that environment, and Black women had to deal with Black beauty more than men do, because society cares more about what women look like than what men look like. Even though Black men, we do kind of get that as well. Like you've had little Black boys in America that have gotten kicked out of school for having dreads. So that does happen too, but it happens more with Black women because y'all looked at as Black and women at the same time. So I get it, but at the same time, if there's a pattern of a Black woman who never has even really known what their natural hair feels like, it's kind of like, okay, there's a chance you may have some self-hate. Just like a Black dude who never even attempted to even talk to a Black woman romantically. It's kind of like, okay, so there might be something else going on. It might not just be, whatever, but.
No, 100%. I think that, like you said earlier, she's saying, I'll do it for the job. And then why do you still have it on outside of this interview, right? Mm-hmm. That's true. But at the same time, this is why I say that Black men need to show more love towards Black women, because now it's not just the interview, it's also the dating scene. It's also her love life. It's also when she goes grocery shopping, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just that job interview. So if more Black men appreciated, complimented her with her natural hair, instead of like bashing her, saying, oh, why are you wearing a wig or whatever. I mean, I'm all for natural hair, and anyone who's dark skinned who's probably looking at me and saying, "Oh, it's because you have, you know, nice, or what's the word, good hair."
Yeah, yeah, I hate that.
Then yes, okay, I
If it's
understand where
not,
you're coming from.
if it's anything other than the 4A to 4C, then it's good, you know.
See, but what I'm saying is, that's why I put the ownership, the responsibility on Black men, because I would say that the hardest thing, like for men, for Black men, it's hard to be a Black man, but try and imagine how it's like to be a Black woman, because that is not easy, especially if you do not, you know, the darker you are, the more racism and, you know, sexism and all sorts of things that you face. And yeah, so it needs to start with you guys, is what I'm saying. The defensiveness, you know, if anybody is making fun of Black women, stand by her side. If just compliment Black women on a regular basis, you know, just their natural hair when they're wearing it out. Even if you catch them on a day off, just like throwing out the garbage or whatever, and they look like garbage. Oh, that's bad. You know, like, that's like, I didn't mean to use the two terms, but you know, when you look like shit, like on my worst day, when somebody tells me I look beautiful, that makes me feel so good, you know, when I'm riding the bus with my hair like in a bun and I'm in my sweats and someone says I look beautiful, that's my biggest compliment, right? But if that's why I put the ownership on you guys. When a woman feels like shit and you catch her on a day off without her wig, compliment her, because that will encourage her to do more of that, and eventually it'll fix the problem.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've had a lot of shocking responses from Black women when I'll catch them like at coming out of a movie theater at like the grocery store or whatever, and like, if I see a Black woman with braids or an afro, something like that, I always like, "Hey, I love your hair." And like, I had one woman kind of, she almost did like a double take. I was just like, "Oh, hey, you have nice hair, or you have good hair," something like that. Said she, she was like, "I'm like, yeah," I'm like, "Your hair's really nice." She's like, "Oh my god, like thanks." She's like, "You too, thank you." And
yeah,
and I could, it was like a little cultural moment, and she was with a couple of her friends, and I think was like a black person, a white person, and I think it was another Black woman that was with her, and then there was a white dude, and the white dude was just kind of like all confused, and like all of us we all kind of understood, and he was just kind of like why are y'all, why is like why is this a big deal, you know? And the thing is, I'm as I always do what you said, I always try to do, if I see a Black woman with her natural hair, so I know that probably, you know, may have been a hard transition depending on how long he's been doing it, but I never realized how big of a deal that was. Like I never, you know, started complimenting Black women on natural hair to try to get any kudos. Like I just say it because that's just what I mean. But I never realized how big of a deal. Like almost every time I've said that to a stranger, like a Black woman, a stranger, and compliment on their hair, like they always are either really appreciative or they're shocked. Makes you think like, dang, like does nobody ever, you know, tell them this? This is kind of like, damn, you know, that's like you said, that's on us, you know, as men. Because something I know is too with Black men, we'll say all the time, which I agree that, and I think this might probably go into another question later on. You can get to your question too. I know.
No, that's okay. No, I like this conversation.
But you know, a lot of times we as Black men will say, you know, we wish our women were more feminine, which there is some truth to that. But at the same time, my thing is, you know, we can be more masculine in a positive way, not toxic masculinity, which, you know, we may or may not get into that. But, you know, in my opinion, that's a way of showing, I guess, leadership in a way, or just, you know, positive assertiveness as not only a man, but specifically as a Black male, and racially or culturally, whatever you want to say it, connecting with Black women and saying, hey, you have good hair. Like us putting a standard on our own stuff instead of waiting for the outside community to say what is good or bad about us, because they're never going to tell us that we're great.
It'll never come around, you know. Like if we have to find something nice about us, they'll put it on, you know, Indians or white people or whatever, right?
Look, Kim Kardashian has boxer braids. She just invented some new hairstyles. Like, what? Man, this ain't, you know, we've been doing this for thousands of years. Like, you can look up old mummies with braids. Like, there was some I
Ah,
think it was either in Egypt or it might have been in Central America, but it was a little black girl. And it was like a
mhm.
mummy. It was a little black girl that was in almost perfect condition for whatever, I mean, thousands of years. And she had like full, like poetic justice, Janet Jackson,
Yes.
like full braids, you know. It's like
Yeah.
we've been, you know, and I get other cultures have done like dreadlocks and braids, whatever, too, but that's definitely something that black people culturally
Right.
we've done around the world for a
Right.
long time or whatever. So, you know, it's just, you know, we can't wait for some other, you know,
No.
society to tell us what's considered good hair or
Yeah.
bad hair, you know. And but yeah, that's something that I was almost kind of taken back
Yeah.
by when I would, you know, see a cute black woman, like, oh, I like your hair.
Yeah.
And without fail, they'll either get really shocked or they'll, you know, be very appreciative of it, which I appreciate them appreciating my compliment, but I'm just kind of like, damn,
Yeah.
like, does nobody ever, and I think about it, I'm like, well, shit, when did
Yeah.
they ever see positive images of black women, especially black men, giving them that?
Exactly.
Like in media, social media or TV, usually it's other black women creating shows or platforms or spaces for black women to be like, hey, you know, we're beautiful, but you don't really see as much on the other end. It's out there, but
Yeah.
it's not balanced, you know what I mean? So they probably really don't see that in the real. You know, they might see a black dude compliment, you know, a woman who is either is black or another race that has straighter hair or whatever case may be,
Yeah.
or whatever, you
Yeah.
know, or whatever, you know. There's nothing wrong with complimenting a woman of period, you know, as men.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with complimenting women, but at the very least, we should make sure as black men that our women are good first and
Exactly.
foremost before we move on to anybody else or try to worry about other
Yeah.
people because they have their own men. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, you know,
Exactly.
so.
Oh, and our men too. So, yeah. So,
Right.
but I wanted to touch on what you said earlier about men wanting feminine women, right? Um,
Is that one of your questions? I know we're still kind of on mine, but
no, that's not one of mine, but no, it's okay. This is
okay,
good. I'll get to my
okay,
question right after this.
okay.
With It's very difficult to be feminine when the world is against you. You know,
Mhm.
it's like as I get older, I get more and more angry, and I have to consciously be more, like I have to do the work to stop myself from being so angry, if that makes sense. I have to do my meditation. I have to go to the gym, you know, let off some steam.
Yeah.
But the more, and I haven't done that in a long time. So I don't know if you noticed, but in my videos, my earlier videos, I was very vibrant. And the more the years go by, the harder life gets, the more, you know, the less feminine a person can be. So, for example, stress is a factor that prevents femininity. I don't know if you know this, but
Um,
whether it's financial stress, for example, is a huge factor for for women to be more feminine and to actually, you know, like it's an energy that you need to work on. It's not something that you just get. If you're stressing over money, how are you going to be able to relax and be and actually enjoy all those things, you know?
yeah.
Um, it's a whole other topic. I don't want to get into it. Maybe we can do another video call some other time about um, how life takes away from femininity. But especially, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I have never lived in the States and I don't know that many African Americans, but from the research that I've
Excuse me.
done and the videos that I've watched, um, uh, a lot of, is it true? African American households are mainly, or no, not households. There are a lot of single moms, single black moms in the US. Is that a true fact or no?
I mean, yes, there are, but those stats. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Sorry.
those stats. What you gotta understand about those stats.
Yeah.
Think what it says like 70% of black women have kids out of wedlock or whatever. Now, when people hear that, they assume that means 70% of women that have kids are raising their child without ever getting married. That's
Right.
not true. Basically, what those stats are saying is that most black people in America have kids first and then get married. That's
Okay.
more accurate. So really what it is, not now don't get me wrong, there are a lot of single mothers within the Black community and other communities as well. They just tend to highlight it more when it comes to Black people because anything negative that happens in America, if Black people are doing it, it's like, oh well, look at them, look at Black on Black crime. It's 90%. Okay, well it's 87% for white people. So y'all right behind us, and y'all didn't go through Jim Crow and slavery. So, but no, basically out of that 70%, I'm sure I'm not entirely sure on top of my head, but I'm guessing at least half of that 70% is just, if not more, it's just Black folks. We tend to have kids first and then we get married instead of the traditional way of, you know, getting married and then having kids. Okay. We kind of do the other way around. So that's more so what that is. But half of this is a stat I just kind of found about a week or so ago. But around 50% of Black men don't have kids and aren't married. But I think for Black women, it's like around 60 or 70% of Black women have children, which just shows that a lot of Black women are not a lot, but there's what's what I'm looking for, a kind of a crossroads where you have a sector of Black women that are having children with the same handful of Black dudes. Right. You know what I mean? Okay. That kind of creates that whole single mother environment, but there's a whole other half of Black American men that are out here that are, working on their careers, whatever they're doing, they're, single or they have a girlfriend, but they're not married and they don't have children. Right. But, so there's a lot of different factors within the Black community, Black American community with the whole single mother thing and all that type of stuff. But that is an issue though. That is definitely an issue. Okay. Well, it's not as big as they make it. Yeah, but it is a problem though. I
Okay. For those of you who are watching, I live in Canada, so I'm not that familiar with the US. But I was gonna say, if you're living in a household where you have children as a single mom, it's very difficult to, or not even as a single mom, it's just as a woman living by yourself, trying to, find work and pay bills and do all this stuff. As a Black woman with all those, sorry?
So providing for yourself.
Oh yeah, basically. Providing for ourselves, yeah. And then facing all this racism and all these hardships, all these barriers as a Black woman. Yep. It's difficult to be feminine in that kind of environment. I just wanted to put that out there that, a lot of people say Black women are not feminine. They're very, angry, whatever. Yeah, rightfully so, first of all.
Yeah, I mean, Black men are mad too, so,
Yeah, I mean,
that's just the only emotion that we're allowed to express is anger. But when Black women do it, it's like, oh,
exactly,
crazy.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, but
sometimes y'all can be tripping. I would just say as a man, like, I'm not going to act like
but we have a reason.
Sometimes.
We have a reason, unlike other people. Yeah. Unlike other people, everything is against us. And yet, when we do exhibit that feeling, then it's, forbidden. And yet you have the most privileged people showing the same emotion and they're not labeled as such, right? Yeah, anyway, that's just a side note I wanted. So I wanted to ask you, are you ready to move on to the next topic?
Yeah, sure. And I agree with what you're saying. I understand overall. Yeah. Even though you can't have assholes that are Black women. I'm not trying, there are some Black women that are just, but when you have everything, kind of stacked against you, you're going to probably have a lot of walls built up.
Yeah, people experience things in a different way, right? So anyway, I wanted to say you're very open-minded.
Oh, thanks.
Very well-rounded. Okay, so my question to you is, why do African American men prefer African women over African American women? I've heard this time and time again. That's why I'm asking this question.
Who'd you hear this from?
Just Dynast TV show, Dynast channel, YouTube channel.
I gotta check that channel. I'm not sure if I've ever.
I've noticed there's like a promotion for you know, African American men to like come to Africa.
Yeah.
There are women who are feminine and don't mind if you cheat
Oh
and
Lord.
have multiple wives. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Oh, something else you.
yeah, no. I just want to know, is this a thing or what do you think?
Um. Okay, I'm assuming you're talking about Black American men, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I say I don't know as far as other. There's some truth to that, but what I will say, far as in general with people, or at least with men, I mean I don't know about women, I guess, but men in general, um, a lot of men like women that are foreign. Why that is, I'm not sure. I think it's just, it's just interesting. Not that there's anything wrong with women from your own nationality, I guess, so to speak, or whatever. But I think just having that variety, even within your own race as men, I think from a biological standpoint, men kind of um, like variety as far as spreading their seed. If you want to go back to, way, way, way back, when human society and civilization before we had certain structures and different types of cultures and rules and things like that, you know, men would impregnate multiple women at a time. I'm not defending any of that type of stuff or saying that, men should be out here cheating, or I'm not somebody who believes in polygamy. Granted, teach their own. I'm not going to tell somebody not to not do it. That's what they want to do. But historically and biologically speaking, there's a reason why men can still be fertile later on in their life, further along in their life than women. Most women hit menopause, like in their 40s or so, something like that, 40s or 50s, I think. Men are still fertile as long as, you're healthy and like that. Men can still get a woman pregnant in their 70s, possibly. You know what I mean? Like, so on a biological standpoint, clearly, once again, not trying to say that there's anything wrong with being in a monogamous relationship. Me personally, I would rather be in a monogamous relationship than a polygamous one. But there is clearly biological proof that men are kind of designed, at least on a animalistic level. Obviously, we're supposed to be more evolved and we can make choices, but on a evolutionary animalistic primal level, that men are supposed to spread their seed with multiple women. So, men tend to want to try to find the most suitable kinds of women. So obviously there's more women than just the women in your community. There's women all over the world.
Right.
Right. So if you're a Black man that only wants to be with Black women and you have this kind of a mindset, you may feel like, hey, well, let me go to the Caribbean. Let me go, to the motherland, the continent. Let me go here. Let me go there. It's all the same race, but I'm spreading my seed with Black women of different nationalities or different cultures. So my kid can maybe be raised by a woman of different cultures and learn different things. There's a lot of different things, and then I think also maybe low key on a I don't want to say full blown fetish level, but there is, and I'll even throw myself a little bit on the bus. I do have a thing for women that have accents, whether that's a different race or same race. I think that's very interesting. Just on an educational level, when you hear people from different accents, obviously they're probably from a different country than you, which means you can probably learn something from them. And I just think women sound attractive with different accents. That doesn't mean I think women who don't have accents, in my opinion, even though everybody has an accent, but the women that don't have an accent to me sound, they sound good too. But I do think that, there's some sort of appeal to women of different, cultures or whatever. I'm not 100% sure why that is. I think it's just, variety, or just, you wanting something different, but you don't want to step outside your race either. So it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm from America, this person's from Ghana, or, whatever. Okay, we're both Black, but they grew up completely different than me. So I can learn something different from her. She's got, the accent or whatever, if you're in that, whatever. If I think different men might be different reasons, but I think that those might be some of the reasons. Like I said, the whole feminine thing, with Black American women being stereotyped as being non-feminine or being combative and things. or like what you were saying, as you know, you being a black woman and having a lot of things stacked up against you. Whereas I think in other countries, sexism is worse than it is here in the West. So a lot of times, women in other countries don't really have much of a choice but to be extra feminine, because they'll probably, God forbid, but they'll probably, you know, kill women in certain countries if they're not, you know, acting a certain way, or if they try to speak up for themselves. And like, I mean, I've heard this from multiple women from different countries, how, you know, they really have no voice. So
Yeah.
it's not that they're being extra feminine because they want to. It's like, well, shit, if I don't, you know, something might happen to me, so it had to be that way. And then us as men, once again, biologically, we want a woman that's feminist. So then if you're not used to women being that way, and then you meet a woman from another country, it's like, oh my God, like this is, you know, it's like your mind's blown. It's like, oh man, like this is what, you know. So it's a lot of different factors. Some of it might be superficial reasons, other could be subconscious biological reasons, other, you know, just could be just a preference. I don't, you know.
Okay. Yeah. The reason why I ask that's an interesting point. I never thought of the difference in culture, like how cultures would be interesting to you. Yeah, but I think a lot of it, from what I've seen on like the Dennis TV show or whatever his YouTube channel is, there's this promotion that you know, leave your African American women, come to Africa, because the women here accept polygamy and they're more feminine. That's not true.
Hey, fair enough. I'm not an advocate for that anyway, so hey.
That's I mean, the thing is,
sucks for them.
More feminine, yes, maybe. I don't know if you can actually say they're more feminine. But are they feminine? Yes. But do they take shit? No. I find that a lot of African American men want to come to Africa because they think women take more of their shit. Sorry.
Okay. No, go
but
ahead.
That's not the case. Like a lot of like, I think African American men want, and I'll just based off of what I've read and what I've seen off this channel, and this isn't all African American men, just the ones on that channel.
You ain't offending me, so you go ahead.
All right. So they want to have a woman who's domesticated, who they can come home to and come have her stay at home, cook and clean for them. And a lot of African women are willing to do that. That's their ideal life. Maybe not nowadays. Maybe things have changed. I mean, more women are working nowadays back home.
Okay.
But ideally, a lot of African women would rather stay at home, have children, cook and clean, and the man works, ideally. But the economy doesn't allow that for that anymore. So that's the pull for a lot of African American men. Now it's being taken a little further, which I don't like, where now they think that because they, you know, I don't think African American women accept cheating, do they?
No. Now, I mean, once again, we're speaking obviously in general for people that are watching. This more so general. Obviously, people individually are their own people, but in general, no.
Right. And in general, it's frowned upon. It's condemned. Yeah. It's like a no-no, right? Whether or not they're able to follow through with it, that's another thing, because emotions get involved. But
wait, what do you mean follow through? Sorry.
Like if they say, I will not accept cheating,
okay.
Someone cheats.
I mean, some women will take you back or whatever.
Right.
I mean, for the most part, no.
Right. For the most part, a lot of women ideally would not want that. And the same applies back home. So I don't know why, you know, where this idea is coming from, that African women, you know, welcome cheating and welcome other wives. That's not true at all. It's only in the villages. This is a point I was trying to explain for any African American men who want to go to Africa. Only in the villages, and even in the villages, it's very rare. The only times that women agree to these kind of situations are if this guy is extremely rich and they are extremely poor. That's the only way that these things happen. So anyway, for me, my second question for you is, what is your ideal woman? Like
My-
yeah, like do you prefer a woman who's gonna stay at home and or do no judgment on my part, just you
oh
personally.
yeah, I'm just thinking, but go ahead though.
Yeah, what's your ideal situation when it comes to marriage?
All right, you mean more so like far as roles,
Yeah, in
like far as the
terms of
roles and
roles.
everything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess going off of the way that I was raised, my mom, my dad both worked and had careers. My dad, actually was the one that did the cooking and cleaning mostly. Like my mom didn't really ever clean. My dad, he's a huge neat freak, whatever. Like he has OCD. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, my dad's always the one that did the cooking and the cleaning, and they both worked. So I never grew up in a household where my mom stayed at home and my dad just made all the money. They both made money. They both raised me, but then my dad mostly kind of took care of the house as far as cooking and cleaning. And then my mom was kind of more so the person I went to for so I guess nurturing, as you know, because women are better at nurturing. When it came to that, I would kind of more so go to her. But when it would come to learning how to manage money and things like that, I would kind of more so go to my dad. You know what I'm saying? So um, I don't really not necessarily have a preference as far as want a woman to be like a stay-at-home mother versus her wanting to be a businesswoman, and more so comes down to what she wants and where we both are at that point in our lives. I think was more practical versus what I want. I think was more practical in today's society, especially in our generation. Because you're what, like 32,
32.
32,
32.
yeah,
Yeah.
32. Okay, so we're only about. I'm 28, so we're only about
Okay.
4 years apart. So
Mhm.
people of our age group, or around our age group, you for the most part, depending on how much money one of the people are making, for the most part, both people are gonna have to work, even if one person more so, pays the bills and kind of, you know, is the one for that. I think it makes more sense for both people to work in this economy, in this
Yeah.
society that we live in our generation. I don't think it really makes sense for just one person to work and the other
Right.
person to just stay at home. Even once again, even if let's say the man makes, the bulk of the money, I do feel like she still needs to do something.
Right.
And then when it comes to cooking and cleaning, first and foremost, you can clean after yourself.
Right.
You know, and then I mean, and then as far as cooking, for me, I think it comes down to who either wants to do it more or who's better at it, or what I'm saying, or you can
Right.
just kind of,
Yeah, it's
because
something to figure
there's
out. Yeah.
there's some women that I know they prefer to cook or they want to, or vice versa. They might. I know women that have gotten in arguments with their man because he never cooked and she always expected him to do that because that was how she grew up. Once again, I
Right.
grew up in a house where the man cooked. Now, I'm not the best cook in the world, but I mean, I know when it comes down to me eating or starving to death, I'm gonna go up in that kitchen, I'm gonna make something. You know what I
Right.
mean? But if the woman that I'm with is clearly more knowledgeable on cooking or better at it, and she's likes to do that, I'm not gonna tell she has to do it, but I'm not
Yeah.
gonna tell her to not. Like, go ahead, you know what I mean? But if there's any, days where she doesn't want to cook either, I'm gonna take her out, or we take us out to eat, or I'll just cook something. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I
Yeah.
think it kind of comes more so down to me and that individual person, where are they at in their life? What are their skills? Are they a slob? Are
Right.
they garbage at cooking? Like, where, what I'm saying? Like, where are we both
Yeah.
at versus like, oh no, I need a woman that is
Yeah.
like this. It's like then you're kind of cutting yourself short in the dating market. Now you're only focusing on this one type of woman,
Right.
when there's plenty of good women out here, maybe they just expect you to also cook sometimes. Maybe they also expect you to clean. Like you're
Right.
a grown man. Like
Right.
so I don't necessarily have a set like
Yeah.
requirement, I guess, because to me, preference and requirement, two different things. Like for example, I have certain requirements that I expect a woman to have versus me preferring a woman to be a certain way. Like it's okay if they're not, you know what I mean? So
Right.
when it comes to that, I don't really have a strong opinion, but I guess I would prefer her to at least help. Like she
Right.
ain't gonna just be sitting around not doing anything. If she's not doing anything around the house, then she's gonna be, you know, working a lot. There's going to be some kind of balance, like, you know what I'm saying? But if let's say she works part-time and I'm working full-time, then I'm probably going to expect her to also, you know, take care of the household a little more than me because I'm working more. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if that answered your question or not.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. This is like what I'm seeing in Africa, for example. And this is, you know, every African country is different, but on a general, both people need to work nowadays because the economy's gotten harder, right? But the roles of the house have still remained the same. So the women, you find a lot of women working full time, coming home, taking care of the children, cleaning, cooking for the husband. And the husband, as soon as he's done, he's just rests his feet up and just watches the woman slave away. That's one thing I like about the West, about this part of the world, is you know, men are way more independent. They know how to cook. They and if they don't know how to cook, they know how to survive, you know, in the kitchen. Whereas back home, this is a generalization, of course, but it's not the case. There's just so much pressure on women to do everything. It's still the same here, actually, but it's not as much as it is back there. But I wanted to say, let's wrap this up because I have to go to work now. Yeah, but it was nice chatting with you. Very well-rounded. I like your brains, how you're thinking. I think these kind of discussions are good. I think they need to be had. And I think if we're going to leave with anything today, your assignment is to go compliment a woman for her natural hair, a Black woman, or just tell her she's beautiful. It's nice to do these things. I know you do it, but continue doing it. And anyone who's watching, all you men out there, it's your responsibility to empower your women. And all the women watching, I think that, you know, we need to do better to look inside and, you know, and up here to try and figure out why we're so messed up and try to unlearn everything we've been taught. Yeah.
I will say, just as a man, for women, if a man is coming at you in a respectful way and giving you constructive criticism, you know, try your best not to get so defensive. I can understand the reason why some women will get defensive due to having a lot of walls built up or whatever the case may be. But if a man is, you know, seriously trying to help and trying to encourage or trying to build you up, and it, once again, in a respectful way, don't just automatically snap on them. You know what I mean? Because that's how you can lose a lot of good men, so to speak, whether that's a friend or you know, a potential husband or whatever the case may be. You know, if, you know, we're commenting on the way some women act or the way some women look or the way some women think, if we're doing if we're genuinely being respectful, that once I'm stressing that, because I'm not trying to say some dude that's calling you out your name or whatever, like that's something else. But if we're, you know, genuinely trying to be respectful and you can see that, just listen to what he's saying, even if you don't want to hear him at that point in time, or even if you are, you know, getting kind of angry with what he's saying, just, you know, just okay, you know, whatever, like just let's just end the conversation now, cool, and then go home when you're calm. Think about what he said, you know, maybe when you're by yourself, so you're not yelling at him, and just think about what he has to say, because he might really be trying to help. Because sometimes, you know, I think there's a lot of miscommunication between men and women because we do communicate differently. Men usually communicate more with the logical part of their mind, and women communicate more with their feelings. There's nothing wrong with either or, but we need to, you know, find a middle ground.
I'm laughing because this is so true, actually. This has been an issue in my relationship where I am emotional.
Your fiance is East Indian, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's an intellectual person. Well, I'm intellectual too, but I think it's a lot deeper than that, than just I don't know. I think men and women are just made completely differently. That's why we clash so much.
But we complete each other too. We're like puzzle pieces. If we find the right man, the right woman together,
right?
we can fit together. That's
Yeah.
you know.
It's I don't know. It's communication is important. I think you need a mixture of both emotions and intellect. You know, just using your words with no emotion doesn't get the message across, and just being emotional with no
Odds.
yeah, with no like common sense.
Yeah.
There's that doesn't get you anywhere either. So I think a mix of both is something that we need to learn how to do. Yeah, but good point. Good point.
We can end there. So yeah, work.
Yeah.
Real quick though, would you want to sometime do like a part 2 since we have more questions and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Maybe next month though, because or we'll figure it out. Let's we do have more questions. Hey, these things take forever, which is nice. I like this conversation.
Yeah, I tend to ramble a lot. So.
No, it's good. It's good conversation. It's needed. But yes, definitely. Let's do a part 2, but I just don't know when because my life is kind of crazy right now. We'll figure it out. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Call me after this call.
Okay.
Okay. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Peace. It's your boy, Conscious Coon Killer. I'm out. had to do it. All right.